Hey there, welcome back to My Green Pets. I'm William Green. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to show you my orchid collection. I started collecting orchids seriously about 5 years ago, and I keep them at a greenhouse where I rent space, so they enjoy some really nice conditions. Let's look at this guy. This is Bulbophyllum echinolabium. Hal is his nickname. He's just put out some nice new big leaves in the past few weeks, and he's got one more flower left on this spike, I think, before that is it. Hopefully he'll push out a new spike soon, but if not, that's okay. He's had a nice long run. This is flower number 17 on this spike. Another Bulbophyllum, this is Lovely Elizabeth, and it had lots of new little growths pushing out that I thought might be spikes. This plant hasn't bloomed for about 2 years now, and I was looking forward to something maybe pushing out in this winter perhaps, so not sure. But otherwise the plant's growing very well, lots of new growths, roots rambling along the sides of the plastic pots, and if I don't disturb them too much, they might do very well. Another Bulbophyllum, this is Labii. Kathy's Gold is the clonal name, and it's just now put out a nice big new pseudobulb with a nice pretty leaf on top, pushing out another leaf too. These get pretty big, so hopefully it'll bloom in the spring. Another one, this is Bulbophyllum Winlandianum. It bloomed for me earlier this year, like in the spring. It's nice when it's pushing out new growth because these, unlike many Bulbophyllums, bloom immediately as soon as the new growth comes out. They don't have like a blooming period afterwards. Now this one is Bulbophyllum graviolens, and it has not done very well. I think some cold water has dripped onto it because this brown spot started as just a little brown spot, and then it just has quickly taken that leaf. Another Bulbophyllum's not doing great. This is Antoniferum, and I'm having the same problem that I had with it last winter, which is the new growths are rotting off. And I really think it's a matter of the plant staying too wet and the new growths just rotting. This is the last Bulbophyllum we're going to look at. This is this is Medusa Bulbophyllum, and her nickname is Chanel because she's so classy. And it's going to be blooming probably within the next month or so. Some of those spikes look like they're going for it, and some of the spikes are getting to where they look like they're about to start pushing out and blooming, but they've got these little speckles on them, which I've had this happen in the past, and it's like sometimes a little bit of water gets in between the spike and the bulb and causes them to rot before they actually bloom, so hopefully that's not going to be the case. Let's go over to the Catasetum types. These are orchids that go dormant in the winter. That's why he's got a little plastic tent. I want to keep the water off of him. He's been watered for the last time. This is Mormodia Jumbo World, and it's got 3 little spikes pushing out. Never had 3 on one bulb before. That's great news. And in the past, this guy's bloomed around the winter solstice, so I would think probably going to be closer to January this year. Another Catasetum type, this is a Fred Clarkara hybrid, and it's also got its little plastic tent over the pot. This has been watered for the last time last week, and then it won't get water again until June. It is starting to show signs of dormancy, some yellowing in the leaves, and it actually looks like it is going to spike as well. There's a little green nubbin at the base of the plant. Been watching really carefully for something on this plant, so I'm looking forward to this hopefully growing out and blooming. And I showed you these images last week, actually a few weeks ago. This was Catasetum Fong Cing and Cycnodes Wine Delight, just getting ready to bloom. Well, lo and behold, here we are, full bloom, Catasetum Fong Cing on my refrigerator. I had to bring it home so that I could photograph it because it's getting so dark in the greenhouse now by the time I get there in the afternoons that there's no light. But this is the Cycnodes Wine Delight, also in full bloom on the fridge. Both of them enjoying my home right now and decorating it with their beautiful flowers and fragrances. The Fong Cing, so this plant has, the flowers are unmistakably, incredible, and they've got that cool pollen triggering mechanism where if you touch the flower in the right place, it shoots pollen on you. The problem with that is that Sometimes things bump into the flowers accidentally, or people, passersby who are curious, will touch the flowers and set them off. And then you get this. Within just a few days, the flower has dried up completely and it's gone. And so that, for me, has been kind of disappointing. I mean, I have flowers with blooms that last a lot less time than this. These have ended up lasting about a week, week and a half. But I don't know. It's so extreme to have it in full bloom and then to have them all just go out at once like that. The Cycnodes Wine Delight, on the other hand, although the flowers, there aren't quite as many flowers and maybe the display isn't as impressive as the Catasetum, the flowers are lasting much longer. I haven't seen any signs of wilting yet. These opened pretty much the same day as the Catasetum. Still look great, still smell great, and I don't know. I've got them both here together. They complement each other very well. Really, really nice plants. Big, huge plants. That's another reason I'm kind of iffy on the Catasetums, whether or not I'm going to keep all these, is because they take up a huge amount of space. And so if you're not real happy with the flowers or how long they last, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be keeping 4 of these in my collection at any rate. But you saw them earlier kind of in the artificial light. These are in the daylight, so they look a little bit nicer. And also these pictures are from today. You can see the flowers on the Fong Cing have all pretty much gone. There's a couple left, but for the most part, what was really weird was that the flowers on this particular spike on the right here, I came home from work yesterday and they had all shot their pollen. I don't have anything in the house that would have set them off. They just set off on their own. So that's interesting too, that after only a week or so being open, oh, let's do the pollen trick. Boom. There we go. Little pollen sac shoots off there. Anyway, so the verdict on these is that the flowers were really spectacular. Fragrance was so-so, kind of like minty toothpaste. But man, I was disappointed that the flowers faded so quickly. Alright, now this is a Stanhope oculata, a piece of a plant that I had this plant as a seedling for a few years, and then I sold it. And then the person I sold it to bloomed it, and it was amazing, and I begged them for a piece of it back, and they sent it to me. So here it is, back in my collection, Stanhope oculata, 3 nice new growths. Looking for blooms on that in the summertime. Now this is a Path villosum. I've got several slipper orchids actually. Slippers are some of my favorites for sure. They've just got weird, bizarre flowers they just almost look artificial. Look how plasticky this Path villosum looks. But they don't necessarily do great for me in this greenhouse. Not all of them do. Now this group, the mottled leafed ones with the splotchy leaves, these are doing fantastic. I don't have to do anything to them at all. They just enjoy the greenhouse conditions. They're putting out lots of new growth. And in fact, the one in the bottom right here, this Path Appletonianum, bloomed last winter forest, and even though the new growth doesn't have but 1 or 2 leaves on it, it's pushing out another bud. So that's awesome. It's actually got another growth coming out at the bottom there too. So I'm hoping for flower on that in the next couple months. Alright, let's look at Phalaenopsis schilleriana. It is going to be a monster this year, I can just tell. The leaves are bigger, and the spike already has branching on it. Just like the first node up has already got a branch. So these are really famous for having long branching spikes, and so I'm really excited about it. I don't want to stake it. I want it to grow naturally, but space is going to be a question. Where am I going to put it? Alright, last group of plants we're going to look at are the Cattleyas, Cattleya rex. These are all seedlings of the same species. 2 of them bloomed this summer, and I pollinated one. So this is the seed pod. This seed pod's about 4 months old at this point. It's pollinated in August. And I've heard that it needs a good year to mature. Now this plant was very, very, very shriveled up and unhappy. It had lost most of its roots and had been repotted and then neglected for a few weeks. So it did not look good, but luckily it has put on some new roots and continues to put on little new roots off of the other roots. And we've seen some green color come back to this plant. The bulbs aren't as shriveled as they were, so I think it is on the road to recovery. And all the other little Cattleyas are doing well. They're just putting on as much growth as they can. This one's doing super well. Look at all the roots pouring out of that basket. This is actually, I don't know if that's one seedling or two in there, but the plant's doing great. So hopefully we'll see a flower on that one next year. These bloom in the summer, the beginning of August, and have beautiful white cream-colored blooms with a rainbow lip. And that is it. This week's update has been a little bit longer than usual because I did not get to produce anything for you guys last week. If you're in the United States, you were very likely celebrating Thanksgiving. We had lots of bad weather that week. Was not able to make a video, but I'm happy to be back this week, updating you on what's going on. I've been asked, because your orchids are in that greenhouse and everything's done for you, do you really feel right taking credit for the blooms? And I'll say yes, because I have plants that, like I told you, they don't do well in that greenhouse. I have to intervene. I have to do different things and move them around or put little caps on them or, flush the roots out, or I have to do certain things to keep them healthy. Other plants, like those slipper orchids that I showed you, they love it there. I don't have to do anything. Whatever the greenhouse people are doing is exactly what they want. So I hope that answered your question, and I am so glad that you stopped by to check on My Green Pets. I hope that everything is growing well for you, and I look forward to sharing my plants with you next week. So until then, see ya.